Thank you so much. And first of all, congratulations to you, to Markus Hilger, to all your team for having built up not only the contact point, but also this important conference today. And with your allowance, I will just flip through 7 slides to show what we aim at and what we did not reach, what you have already reached. So to put it in a nutshell, the focal point is a tremendous success for the coordination of cultural policies within Germany regarding to the colonial past. And we aim on the basis of the coalition treaty, so on the enhancement of international cooperation of the German museums, to build up an agency, which might be the interface for international requests related to the construction and the conception of museums. We want to bundle the competences in our country, also on the exhibition side, wherever it is needed, and to provide service to the German museums, which are not always in a capacity to drive important, ambitious international projects. And for that, we adopted to 3 steps. So firstly, the political expression of the coalition treaty. Then we have negotiated with the parliament, and gratefully the parliament is supporting this initiative through its commission of culture, through the commission of the budget. And we are on the next slide, perhaps, could you switch over to the next slide? And we bundled some aspects. Oh no, the slide just, yeah. So here you see that the task to support an international cooperation of the museums does mean that we have 4 different fields of competences we are touching at in the government. The first is the question of culture and education. So the museum cooperation as an element of science diplomacy of science, but also as an element and an important space for civil society discourse and places for education. The second, just touching at it, is the economic and the development cooperation. And that means that cultural infrastructure is important, not only in our country, but also in our partner countries. And it is a support for the sustainable development goals. So this is on the economic and development cooperation, and gratefully, the Ministry of Economic Development does strongly support the initiative. And coming from the Foreign Ministry, there's also an important aspect of diplomacy and of foreign policies. And we do not have to hide, and we should not hide our own interest to be an international player also in cultural politics. And the 4th aspect is referring to the colonial past of Germany and the deep conviction that our responsibility is not only an inward responsibility to our collection, but also an outward responsibility to share and to cooperate in a very pragmatic manner with our partner countries. And to that extent, the AIM aims to be an important partner also for the contact point and to bundle these 2 aspects of internal and external cultural policies. On the next slide, if you may, we just could you switch over just to the next slide, because it's, yeah, thank you so much. So we are starting on the point that we have analyzed a bit the international market. You see the global volume of infrastructure constructions in culture. We have talked to a consulting company based in New York who does an annual report. And on the left side on the world map, you might see that there are important cooperation projects, but you do not see any specific engagement from the side of the of Germany. So this was just to give you that card, that map, to explain why we feel that there is a lack of engagement of politics in Germany. So the next slide. On the next slide, you see we show the three main objectives: promoting culture and museums as a way of lifelong learning and of enabling understanding. So second, enabling cultural infrastructure also to contribute to the SDGs and to economic growth. And the third point is creating opportunities for a global cultural exchange. And that means that we aim to build up a one-stop agency. We want to support important international exhibition projects, and we are targeting the capacity building aspects. And the governmental partners, and we are very happy that we reached out to two other ministries, so the Ministry of Economic Cooperation and the Minister of State for Culture and Media. So the aim is to build up an agency which is driven not only by one ministry, but which is driven by all the three competent ministries. On the next slide, we will show you the existing agencies and partnering institutions. So first of all, the main cultural player outside the Goethe Institute. The agency is not aiming to build up any contact point abroad. So the main cultural player and the face of the German cultural policies is the Goethe Institute, and you all know the strength of the Goethe Institute regarding to organize a cultural discourse and cultural events. So that's pretty much of importance. A second partner is the German Academic Exchange Service, because he has all his broad competencies in the field of academic exchange and to enable to build up new programs related also to the capacity building of museum management. So he's not in the field of the curatorial exchange, but in the field of academic exchange, referring especially to museums management. The third player is the IFA in Stuttgart, who not only did engage with a broad ambition and honoring the heritage of Martin Roth with the two Martin Roth symposiums 2 years ago and this year, especially focusing on the importance of museums. And the IFA has the wonderful competence in arts and in exhibition making. A fourth very important international player is the Kulturstiftung des Bundes, because through the internationalization of the German cultural players, they are also promoting art and culture in an international innovative coordination. And for that reason, they are very important to look at on every action the agency may take. And the fourth player is the fresh contact point. And I do not have to explain to which extent the contact point is also a very important agency partner for the international cooperation of the museums. On the next slide, we just highlight a bit the museums who since 2 years are working very hardly together with us on the concept side. So just to name all of them, the SPK, the Mark in Hamburg, Museum Ludwig, Kunsthalle Düsseldorf, ZKM in Karlsruhe, the Museum of Naturkunde, die Bayerischen Museen. So these museums are the driving force because they define their need in Germany in order to cooperate in a more ambitious manner on an international field. And this is not named, and for sure, the partner countries and their institutions, and that will lead over to the discussion we might have in the next 1.5 hours. And just to resume on a short slide, and that's the next slide. So there are 4 pillars, if I may say. One pillar is a service pillar oriented to the needs of the German museums. A second is a coordination pillar referring to exhibition projects. We are in these days, we will announce an important design exhibition driven by the Vitra Design Museum, which will travel to to roughly 10 other countries from 2022 on. Our actual actions taken in Russia, so the romantic exposition driven by the SKD in Dresden. These are examples for coordinated approach between museums and government in order to make this progress of international exhibition more smoothly. The third pillar is the cultural infrastructure pillar, and the fourth pillar is the pillar of capacity building, namely in museums management.